Welcome back. Till now we have seen before suite, after suite, before test, after test, before class, after class, before method, after method. There is one more annotation that we have to see yet, but that I will cover in a later session because I need to explain certain things before I go over before groups and after groups. So today, what are we going to see? What are we going to learn new? We are going to see something called as depends on methods. If you have a look over here, you can see that depends on methods. It's an annotation and it states that this is the official, by the way, this is the official website of TestNG, and the list of methods this method depends on. So it will depend, it will tell you which methods this particular method on which you have put the @test depends on, and it will execute the dependent methods first. Only after that it will execute our current method on which we have the depends on method annotation. So the best way to explain this is through a demo. You will understand everything when I run this demo. So what I have done here is, in the annotations.java, which I had covered in my last session, I have put certain depends on annotations. So where I have put the depends on annotations is here in login, reservation and registration, reservation and checkout. So let's see how I have put the depends on annotation. The first method to run is launch browser over here. Since this is the dependent method, this is the first method that will run, it has no depends on here. It has no depends on annotation attached with the test @test. But if you browse below, you will see that the launch browser, which is dependent on the login, which is dependent on the launch browser, has a depends on methods annotation, and it states that login depends on methods launch browser. Similarly, reservation depends on method login and checkout depends on method reservation. So the way this will execute is, first it will run the launch browser, then it will run the login followed by reservation, and eventually it will run the checkout. So let's see this in action. The way to execute annotations.java is, you can just right click and run as TestNG test. There you go. So now let's see this. Don't pay attention to this error, it has something to do with my internal settings. So let me extract this entire thing in a notepad++, so you will understand. Okay, now I will increase the font. Okay, so let's go step by step. Let's see what execution we have. So the first thing that got executed is the before suite. Next is the before test. Then comes the before class. Then is the before method. This we have already seen in the last video. Then comes the launch browser. This is important. You need to pay special attention over here. Launch browser get executed. Launch browser does not have any dependencies. It gets executed because it's a dependent method. Many methods are dependent on this method. Let me correct myself. Many methods are dependent on launch browser. So launch browser gets executed first. After that, it's the after method as expected. Then the before method executes. After that, login executes since it is dependent on launch browser, and after login executes, we have the reservation method because reservation method depends on login. Then eventually we have the checkout method. Checkout method depends on reservation. So in this hierarchy, if you can see, if there is a failure in login, if there is a failure in launch browser, none of the methods which are dependent on each other will get executed. Because launch browser has not got executed, login will not get executed. Because login has not get executed, reservation will not get executed, and because reservation has not get executed, checkout will not get executed. So that's how the execution flows. In the next session we will see more about in the next session we will see more about depends on groups. So let's meet in the next session.